How did this player top YCS Birmingham in 2025 playing Branded Despia? In this video, we're going to be trying to reverse engineer their deck list. Even though no official deck list has been released, I think I might know what the deck contains. And there's also a few spicy decks for this format specifically, and we're going to try to break them down and explain to you why they're good and why I think some of them might not be as good. So this is going to be the Supreme Darkness branded deck profile, and Blue Eyes fans, you have been warned. Let's get into it. Right, so YCS Birmingham has had one player who topped with Branded Despia, and today we're going to try to break down their deck list based on the replay, based on the VOD that they had in a feature match. They played, I believe, against Fiendsmith Rizio, and they won on stream pretty impressively. The deck looked great, and obviously that was a very skilled pilot because nobody can just pick up a deck like that. That was a person who loves playing Branded, and so do we. So this is going to be your deck profile for this format. Before we begin, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you like this type of content. I do have a plan for a new Branded Masterclass, a big one, so leave it down in the comments below if you want to know when that happens. Let's start off with the main deck. It is 50 cards, right? And this is what I believe that they played, and I optimized on top of that. So they did play for sure. Like, these ratios are certain. 3 Aluber, 3 Albaz. This is something that is pretty much non-negotiable today, just because of the amount of consistency that you need. You want to make sure you have enough Albaz in rotation. You want to make sure you have enough ways to Branded Fusion. Now, what I'm not 100% sure of, because there was actually no way to verify that in the video specifically, was how many Cartesias and how many Quests were played. Because they played 2 Granguignol, I'm assuming they were on 2 Quem. I think 2 Quem, especially like in Branded, I think it's good for consistency. You want to have, usually in decks with 50 cards, you want to have around 4 to 5 normal summons, which these are. Maybe you can include Kit as well, which could be a special summon combined with other cards. In Cartesia, in 50, maybe in 60 I will play 3, but in 50 probably 2 is correct. I think this is fine, especially if you're on 2 Granguignol. It's important to have that second Quem for the second Granguignol, even though there's a different Despian target in the extra deck as well. So besides that, I think they did play 3 Albion the Shrouded Dragon. This has become standard pretty recently. Not recently, I think it was over a year ago when we started playing that. This card is incredibly good, allowing you to dump an Albaz to facilitate your Cartesia, and specifically because this deck does play 3 Branded and High Spirits, it makes perfect sense to just max out on Albion because it's such a good and powerful card in this deck. Now, this is going to be your, your usual suspects, and now for the other stuff. They did play Kit for sure, and they did play Mercurier for sure. This is pretty much non-negotiable. And they also did play Despian Tragedy. This is something that is, the 3 supplementary cards that, you don't necessarily want to see in your hand. Kit is a starter, so it's fine. And Mercurier at 1, I don't think they played Allure of Darkness. You can correct me in the comments, by the way, if you know anything else. This is half based on what I saw in the video, half my intuition to how I want to build the deck for this format. So it's kind of a combination of both, because if this is the deck they played and I guessed it correctly, I fully agree with the deck choice and how they build it. And then this is also something that I am 100% certain on, which is 3 Serenir and 1 Lubellion. No more than 1 Lubellion and 3 Serenir. Specifically, again, we mentioned the Branded and High Spirits. It's super important. And then for the last main deck engine monster, they did play Maximus. We saw that with the Nadir Servant engine. I think the Nadir Servant engine is great. Maybe especially even in this format, just because of the fact that, just playing around hand traps because there's so many of them. If you have to skip, if you have to get like Fuad, then, you can still get ashed on Branded Fusion, still resolve in Nadir Servant. And then for some non-engine, they did play Molcharmi Fualos. They did play this in their main deck, and I think this is also correct. If you've seen it also in Metagame GX's video, shout out to him. I think this is the only like actual hand trap that Branded can play or should play. You can't be caught off guard against like a Mermail, against a Malice. You need this card, and especially with high spirits as well, you can send this. This is a winged beast. It searches you any card. Like you start off with this in your hand. With high spirits, it does it. We'll explain a little bit later. Spells, 1 Branded Fusion, 3 opening, 3 deployment. I don't think anybody's got any, questions about that. This is for sure something that they played. They played 3 Branded and high spirits. So this one facilitates an additional search, more consistency. And again, this I remember doing this a while ago, explaining it in one of my videos that, yeah, you could send high spirits with Fualos, send Rindbrum from your extra deck, and search any Albaz card, which is great. And so, Fualos is not going to be dead in your hand necessarily. And then 3 Nadir Servant. They did play this package. They played it with at least 1 Garura, which is what I saw. And I think it is absolutely fine. It's a powerful card, especially now with Mitsurugi Dogmatica. It's kind of risky to pull the trigger blind on your opponent with a Maximus. Just take that into consideration, because they can dump their shit as well, and then lost and in red. I think this is the main engine, the spells of the deck. And then some of the surroundings, right? We have 3 Thrust, which is something that they for sure played. And we also saw them play Droplet, and I think this is also correct. This is a card that's been a staple in Branded for years. It's exceptionally good in this format as well. And if you are forced to play a little bit of non-engine, especially like Branded, you need to make each one of those cards work for you and matter. 1 Call By, we did see that for sure. We have 1 Talents. I'm not necessarily sure if they played like exact 50, by the way, or if they played more Talents. There is a world where they actually played more than 1, right? They could play 3. You could play 3. I think it's fine. I just sometimes, you get impermed. You have that in hand. It kind of sucks. And then they did play these 3 traps. Now, they played Branded Banishment. However, I am 98% certain that they did not play Light and Darkness Dragonlord. Now, it does make sense to just play this card as an out to Ryziel, Fiendsmith, and Malice. They all will fall under this card because what it does, special summons either a Despia or a fusion monster from your grave, then it super polys by banishing from both fields. Detonator is light, the Malice monsters are dark, and the Fiendsmith cards are light as well, which means that you can turn any of your Despias, any of your fusions into Dragostapelias. You can turn them into Queritus, Proskinion sometimes if you're lucky. Sometimes you can take several bodies from your opponent. So, I'm not sure he played it, and I'm also not sure I would play it as well. This is why it's not in the deck. And a small shout out to SleeveChief.de. They're dropping their new Blue Eyes collection in 2 days. This Sunday, 9 p.m. Central European time, they're dropping their new collection with sleeves, a binder, a beautiful deck box. If you want to get your hands on that, the link is in the description below. Use code GALZO5 for 5% off and support the channel. Let's get back to the video. Moving on to the extra deck. 2 Albion, which is something that they played for sure. The extra deck I'm also relatively certain on. I think they did play 2 Mirror Jade, and I am sure 100% that they played 2 Granguignol. I also think this is like the most basic ass ratio. I did see on Metagames on Chris's channel that he played 1 Mirror Jade. I think it's fine. I wouldn't be super mad about it. 1 Lubellion, 1 Titanic-led Rindbrum that really carried the match. He did play Aquaritus, and then he played Parskinion. Now, this card I've been speaking of for a long time. It is a good card for sure, especially now, and I think I talked about it when I made my video on how to build the deck against Ryziel, with a boss monster, like generic boss monsters that can be special summoned from your opponent's graveyard, like specifically like White Binder and Detonator, that you can also activate on your field. makes this card really good. Like snatching your opponent's detonator and then activating it, attaching a card from your grave to make it live. This is something that this card can do. Also, like a huge body and big damage. Now, they did play Super Poly in the side. You can hear in the match the casters say it. So there are a few additional cards here that could be either, regular targets for the deck or Super Poly targets. Now, they did play Chimera, Chaos, and Garura. I'm not sure if they played Drago Stepelia. Maybe that was a Light and Darkness Dragon that I missed. But I think this with Banishment is exceptionally good against Malice, right? Against Bestials, against whatever. Basically, you turn your interruptions after you've spent them, or your opponent's monsters, you turn them into a Drago Stepelia, which is really good. Garura is mainly for like either Super Poly for Malice, Ryziel, or also for dumping it off of Nadir. And then Chaos, it's a good card. We talked about it in the channel. Just like a note, we're going into Blue Eyes format. Super Poly with this card cleans their board completely. If you don't know what this does, it requires a light or dark dragon monster plus one dragon monster of any attribute. If it's summoned, then you can target cards your opponent controls up to the light and dark materials for this card and destroy them, right? So essentially this will almost 100% clear just Super Poly on its own. Your opponent, let's say, has a Spheres and a Blue Eye Spirit or 2 Spirit, whatever. Just Super Poly them, pop 2 cards, pop their Eternal Soul, Trap, whatever, that pops the entire field. That is it. You have cleared the board with 1 card. So branded into Blue Eyes, extremely good. Now, I don't usually talk about side decks in my videos, but it is definitely worth discussing it right now. We did see a Masquerade on stream, 1 game 3. Is it side? Is it main? Probably side. It is very standard to play this card on the side, for sure. Which I would recommend people to do, because just like the added pressure, the fact that it's a good banishment target, just really good in general. We did see these, so Harpies and the Lightning Storms, and we did see these. I don't know if we saw them, but we definitely heard the casters say that they played it. Now, I would assume, maybe I'm wrong, but I would assume that they probably did play Lancia. And I would also assume that if they did, then these cards are in the side for Triple Tactics Thrust. I'm not going to guess on the rest. Could be Perulias, could be more Bestials, right? Could be a lot of different things. Could be Board Breakers or evenly matched, right? So you are still missing 3 cards here. Could be Dark Rulers even. Metaltronus also works in this deck. What they didn't play is that they didn't play Sanctifier. That was told to us by the commentators. They did not play Sanctifier or any target for Sanctifier in the deck, which is based. Congratulations to Basilis from Greece for making us all proud at home, for sure. If you are watching this, let me know in the comments if I guessed it right. And everybody else, if you noticed anything else in the deck, make sure to let me know in the comments below as well. Don't forget about the Sleeve Chief Blue Eyes drop. Insanely beautiful accessories, and if you want to support the channel and pick up some for yourself, go to sleevechief.de and use code GALZO5 this Sunday, 9 p.m. Central European Time. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.